This is the intro project for the Monitor Temp and Humidity, Project 3. This project will monitor the temperature and the humidity, and it'll show a reading on a Blink app that we'll be using. It'll also be able to diagram, backlog that graph of time over time of the readings of the temperature and humidity. This project is utilized a lot in factories, homes, where temperature is crucial as far as the range of temperature. Restaurants for coolers and walk-in coolers and freezers. The sensor itself is when triggered, it's on all the time. So the triggering mechanism, unlike other sensors, is it's on reading data all the time. For the sensor to work best in this project, it will need to be mounted on the outside of the case, which is right here. And we will be using an app called Blink that's free to download. There is some cost incurred if you utilize the uh, notifications a lot or add more projects to it, but it's very small increment cost wise. I think it starts out like $2.99 for 1,000 iterations of use, so pretty reasonable. So let's go ahead and get started. The particle photon is definitely a part, as always, with all the other projects. DHT11 sensor. That's what these look like. When you order these on Amazon, they come in a pack of 5. Three male female wires and 3 male to male wires. And again, an optional link to a power shield. Out of all the projects, the power shield might be the best fit for this one. It is optional, but what a power shield basically does is it plugs into your board first, into your breadboard, and then the particle fits over the top of it. This port here is the power port for the power supply. It does come with the battery, the charging circuit, and everything needed for the charge to be maintained without electrical power. The USB mini port is here to power to be plugged in. And so again, not real expensive, but it's not needed. You don't have to have it. But if you ever wanted it to be a portable type of device for temperature gauging, you can get different increments of battery as well. The full charge battery on this would probably last around 6 to 8 hours on a full charge. But again, that is optional. But I thought I'd recommend or talk about it at least. I have used it a lot. So step 1, as always, is set up and resetting photon. Step 2, connecting all the sensor parts and pieces. The podcast for the project will go over that in greater detail. I will just mention that this sensor has 3 pins that it utilizes, and the 3 pins, since they're mounted on the outside of the case, the 3 pins are need a female to female connection or female to male connection, female here and male onto the board, and then male to male there. There's also a photo resistor in this one as well that goes in between the 3 wires coming from the sensor and the 3 wires going to the photon. There is a resistor gap in between there. So here's the first row, which is right there. Second row is the resistor. Third row is one's going through the photon. This is an aerial view of the photon where all the wires plug in. You got your power VIN. You got your D2 and the ground. The Blink app, pretty simple. You download it, point the camera to the QR. It'll load this app for you, and all you have to do is rename your particle. And when it's flashed, it's good to go, and it'll make a reading. It'll look like this. This one shows, this one's had activity for at least 12 hours. But you'll notice you can go live, 15, 30, 1 hour, 3 hours, 6 hours, 12 hours. So in the code, let's talk about this. This one of the first projects that includes a library outside of the C++ code. The library and particle is easy to add, and you'll see that when we go over the podcast of the project. The first library is for the actual particle Adafruit, the Adafruit sensor for the DHT11. And then the second is for Blink. First definition is to the D2 pin. And that's actually for the DHT sensor itself. Then the DHT11 is going to be defined as well. And this was actually for the sensor, for the pin itself. This one here is for the sensor itself. Both of them for the sensor, but one's for what pin is going to be used to read the temperature and humidity. This is actually just to define the device itself. The next DHT, and a DHT pin and DHT type. So there's a pin here, D2, and the type is the DHT11. Then there's the Blink code that you'll be emailed when you set up the Blink app. You'll place it here with your code. And it's a Boolean run, which will be used to determine if the Blink has ran the first time or not, or can run again in a loop. So it sets up the Blink first, and this Blink.begin authentication. Use that authentication token to authenticate. Then it publishes to the particle event state and a start message saying DHT as test start. Run is changed to true, beginning the DHT cycle and delaying 2 seconds. The loop is going to run immediately after that, changes the run variable to true, runs the Blink, delays for 2 seconds. The next few lines declare readings from the actual DHT device. The first one is humidity, second one's Celsius, third is Fahrenheit. The fourth is also Fahrenheit, and the fifth is humidity. The first 3 are floats, the bottom 2 are integers. Then in the if statement, if any of the humidity, temp Celsius, or temp Fahrenheit is null, it's going to do a serial print that you won't see. It's just for within the code, and it's going to change the run to false. If run is false, this next next function within the loop will not run at all. In fact, I think it's the remaining function actually. It is a main function. So from this line, this if line here, all the way down to here, will not run at all if it's failed on reading any type of temperature, humidity, or Celsius or Fahrenheit. If it's true though, meaning it was able to get some readings, meaning it's true, it's then going to plug in 3 floats, one for heat index, dew point, and Kelvin temperature. It's going to publish to the particle in an event called readings, and it's going to be a formatted publish for humidity, temperature, then I believe it's the dew point, dp is the dew point, heat index is hi. That'll all be kicked out in an event particle you'll be able to read. It will not go on the app, it'll just go in the event log. You'll also see it compiled at the bottom of your code, this publish. Then we're going to set int Fahrenheit humidity to string using the string SF and SH. So the SFH is using the H for humidity. The H is using, or the F, I'm sorry, is the get Fahrenheit. And the H is humidity. Then it's going to write to the Blink app in the virtual 1 pin the SF, which is the temperature Fahrenheit. It's going to push a particle publish of the same for temp F. Then it's going to write again to the Blink app in the virtual button 2, V2, the humidity. And in the virtual, or in the Blink app itself, when this button here is clicked, you'll be able to tap on this module and this module, and you'll see the V1 and the V2 in the background of these modules. And so when these lines of code are ran, Blink for the V1 and Blink for the V2, V1 is temp, V2 is humidity. You'll see that when you tap on the objects here. So it sends those readings to the Blink, pauses for 2 seconds. So if run is equal to true, else, meaning it's false, run is equal to true, delay 2 seconds. Starts over again. Test it, save it, verify it, and publish it as always. This link here, by the way, and all the projects have the Get App code link. Will take you right to the particle code with all the code up here. And you just have to save it, copy it, just hit the copy button, and it's yours. I like that about Particle. When you create a project, you can share with other people to where they don't have to reinvent the wheel. Next is the actual screenshot of the Blink app. The Blink app, once it's been flashed, once your code's been flashed to your particle, then you hit the play button and it begins getting the readings for temp and also for humidity. So that concludes the Project 3 intro podcast for monitoring temp and humidity. Enjoy.